My name is Jeff Clark, and I'm the commander of the North Andover VFW. This year, the town of North Andover and our VFW have partnered with Wreaths Across America, an organization to honor the veterans of our beloved community. Wreaths Across America is an organization dedicated to remembering and honoring the veterans of the United States while educating our communities about the sacrifices made by our men and women in uniform. This year, we are placing over 1,500 wreaths at Ridgewood Cemetery on December 14th at 12 p.m. Each wreath costs $17, of which $5 comes back to the VFW. As a nonprofit organization, all proceeds will be utilized to support the veterans of our community and their needs. Please help us spread the word about this amazing organization and opportunity for this community. We hope you can make it to Ridgewood Cemetery on Saturday, December 14th at 12 p.m. for our opening ceremonies and immediately following the laying of the wreaths. This is a wonderful opportunity for our community to come together during the holiday season and ensuring that veterans are not forgotten.
Hello, my name is Michael Wilson. I am a former Marine, Iraq veteran, and currently serving in the Mass Army National Guard. Staff Sergeant Scott Wilson was my cousin and my hero. We were very close growing up. As the oldest of 7 cousins, we all looked up to him, like an older brother. My brother Ian, also an Iraq war veteran of 2 deployments, and myself would spend almost every other weekend over Scott's house with his brother Alan. We would spend almost all our time outside playing war, chasing each other around, making our best machine gun sounds with our imaginary stick rifles. I think back to those days and I'm amazed at how well we got along, always knowing who was hit and who wasn't. It was impressive how Scott never seemed to be at the receiving end of our make-believe machine gun fire. Scott's passion for military service stemmed from his admiration for his grandfather, who was a World War II veteran. His father, although not a veteran himself, was a very patriotic man. I don't remember a time when Scott's father wasn't wearing some form of fatigues between a camo hat or a field jacket. He was a self-taught military historian, always reading about a military conflict or watching a war documentary. Scott joined the Army right out of high school, choosing airborne infantry and becoming a member of the All-American 82nd Airborne. Receiving his jump wings, he served 4 years on active duty. Scott was fearless. Scott was sent to Afghanistan in the early stages of the war in 2002, serving 7 months in country. He would then leave active duty and return home. Keeping with his dedication to duty, he did a short time with the New Hampshire National Guard. He would deploy to Iraq with the New Hampshire National Guard for 3 months from 2004 into 2005. I don't think he was getting what he wanted out of it, so he re-entered into active duty. He would do 2 more deployments to Iraq. Scott would deploy to Iraq from 2006 to 2008 for an almost 15-month deployment. Scott, Ian, and I were in country at the same time for about 3 months. After that long, extended deployment, Scott would go back to Iraq a year later for another 11-month deployment. Scott's service had great influence on his cousins. I joined the Marine Corps, and my brother, the Army, right out of high school. 2 other cousins, Jason and Stephen, would join the Navy, with Stephen graduating from Annapolis. Scott faced many scary and dangerous challenges in his time overseas. Staring down the devil at many turns, he never faltered and never feared. He had seen and done many things that left emotional scars, but he still managed to avoid being hit by this time the real machine gun fire. Scott's emotional scars scabbed over, but never healed. Being reopened from deployment after deployment, those wounds would become permanent. Even with the agonizing pains of war, he was able to be a loving father to his children, but the battle was always raging inside him. Scott sustained several injuries during his service. Coming in hot during one of his training jumps, he injured his legs and back. Scott drove on, hiding both his emotional and physical pain. Scott did all he could do to keep in the fight, but the day came that the Army said his services were no longer needed. He was medically retired and ready to come home. He would call me every so often, and he would vent to each other about our demanding leaders or dumb young privates in our formation. The night he was driving home to Texas from Georgia, he tried to call me. I do not remember if my ringer was off or if I just slept through the call. But that next morning, when I had seen the missed call, I knew something was wrong. For all the time I had known Scott, I looked up to him as this invincible force that couldn't be stopped, and that the only thing that could stop Scott was Scott. And that night, Scott's emotional wounds and pain finally overwhelmed him, and he took his own life. The invisible wounds of war are far too real and need to continue to be discussed and addressed for all those serving. Scott's aunt had teddy bears made out of some of Scott's old uniforms. My son Killian Scott has one of those bears. We call him Scott, and we take him with us on all our vacations when he is not in Killian's bed watching over him. Even with Scott gone, his influence remains. Now 10 years old, Killian has already expressed his desires to serve, just like his dad, uncle, and Scott. Scott will always be remembered as my other big brother and my hero.
Hi, my name is Bill Dolan. I'm the coordinator for VFW Post 2104 in North Andover for the Wreaths Across America program this year. To access North Andover's event, using this website will allow individuals or groups of volunteers to register to place wreaths. We'd ask that one individual for any groups of volunteers identify themselves so that we can work with that one person rather than the whole group. This access can also be used to purchase wreaths, which are $17 each, and to designate a family member or significant person who may want to place the wreaths themselves. We need to raise $26,350 to purchase all the wreaths for the 1,550 veterans who are buried at the Ridgewood Cemetery. We need to raise this money by December 3rd. Wreaths Across America is dedicated to remember, honor, and teach about veterans. And this segment and the others in this series was created by North Andover Camp to help us reach out and do that. The theme for Wreaths Across America, encompassing nearly 4,500 communities across the country who are laying veterans wreaths on December 14th, is Live with Purpose. The opening ceremony honors all branches of our military with a ceremonial wreath posted for each branch by an active or retired member of that branch, and a wreath to remember the POWs and MIAs. Wreaths will have been placed throughout the cemetery for the 1,550 veterans. If successful, we intend to include all North Andover cemeteries in future years. Live with purpose, and please participate on December 14th.